this press event. Today, Orange County Mayor Demings will have information on our current COVID-19 case numbers, our goals for the week, testing information, strike team details, CARES funding, some tragic news coming out of our ranks here in Orange County government, and other details as well. Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer is here and has valuable news from the city of Orlando, including information on utility payments and details from the WWE. We are thrilled to have with us today Orange County Supervisor of Elections, Bill Cowles. Tomorrow's a big day, and it deserves our attention, election that is, in this COVID-19 era. Supervisor Cowles will talk about that. And last but not least, Dr. Raul Pina from the Florida Department of Health in Orange County has information on our testing numbers, testing timeframes, data, and other very important information. We start this press event with Mayor Demings. Mayor?
All right, good afternoon to all of you. I'm going to start the press conference this afternoon. I'm going to tell you the bad news up front. And so it's somewhat a solemn and a sad day for us all here in Orange County government, primarily because one of our family members, one of our assistant county attorneys, Ms. Erin Hardigan, was murdered yesterday. Some of you have covered that in the press. She has worked here as an assistant county attorney for the last 4 years, and most recently did one of the presentations to our Board of County Commission. And I know that she is also tied to the City of Orlando. She formerly worked a few years ago for the City of Orlando as well. And so this afternoon, I had the opportunity to talk to her mother, and her mother was able to just share a little bit about her daughter with me personally. And she's going to be missed amongst our ranks. So the county attorney's office today is sad as well because of the loss of one of their colleagues, a young woman, very loving, kind personality, will be missed from our ranks. And Mayor Dyer and others, I know, we offer our sympathies and condolences to the families, and we pray that justice is served. It's my understanding that the accused assailant for her murder has been arrested. And so we certainly hope that justice will ultimately prevail in that case. And so as we continue to talk, I told you, about in terms of the bad news, we'll get it out up front. We continue to see a spread of the virus within our community, but I will tell you that it has slowed down significantly, and you're going to hear some numbers today that we will share with you just about where we are with the virus in our community. And albeit there's still 351 families who have lost a loved one to the virus in our community. Again, we say to you that it is real. But as I kind of transition and talk now about today, as we find ourselves on the eve of one of the most significant voting primaries in Orange County's history, is coming up tomorrow. And so when I came in, I was wearing my mask, my vote mask, that I was given earlier today. I've been a lifelong public servant in this community and an elected official now for about the last 12 years. And I know the value of the vote, the power of the vote to get people who represent your respective issues. And as the son of the South, as a great-grandson of slaves, as the son of a nearly 98-year-old man, I can tell you about not having the privilege at times to vote from the lessons that I learned from my relatives. And so we do have Orange County Supervisor of Elections, Bill Cowles, who will be here, who will share with you in just a few moments as we are living during an extraordinary period of time in which there's a pandemic. And so in order to keep the people safe as they go to vote tomorrow, we're going to hear from Mr. Cowles. He's going to tell us about what he's doing to help keep the citizens safe. This morning, I joined Mayor Dyer and the Nonpartisan League of Women Voters at an event to remind everyone of the importance of voting. 100 years ago tomorrow, the 19th Amendment to our Constitution was ratified, giving women the right to vote. And I have to say, as an African American, not all women had that right to vote. Not all people had that right to vote. The right to vote freely didn't come until the Voting Rights Act was signed into law 55 years ago this month. However, the centennial milestone for women is a reminder for all of us to exercise our right to vote. So tomorrow, Mr. Cowles, I want you to know that I've already voted. Now I'll transition. Let me talk a little bit about the COVID virus. I think it's all germane to fighting the virus, is to also talk about preparing to vote during a pandemic. That's how we can connect the two here. But each week I endeavor to tell you what the goals are for the week. And so for us this week, our goal is to continue offering free testing to any resident who needs it. We will continue to provide financial relief to our residents and businesses, and we will also continue to work with businesses to make sure they are operating in the safest manner possible. Orange County now has a total of over 33,400 COVID-19 cases within our community. That's an increase of about 107 cases since yesterday. But when we talk about the last 14-day period of time, we certainly see an improvement in our numbers. Our average daily positivity rate for the last 14 days that we've tracked is somewhere around 7%, so below double digits. Day over day, even though it was a weekend day yesterday, you're going to hear Dr. Pino talk about we had a low positivity rate in that last 24-hour period, 5.6%, lowest rate we've seen in a while. So I do thank all of our residents for what they've been doing to adhere to the guidance that we have been giving as a community. Orange County Health Services will restart the free testing tomorrow at our Econ soccer complex between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. The team will remain at this site every day this week, that's through Friday, between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m., offering free tests. Would like to point out that since Orange County Public Schools is preparing to restart schools soon, it's my understanding a special school board meeting is occurring as we speak. But if parents want to get children 12 and older tested for free, they can go to the Econ soccer complex to get that done. We've seen an improvement in the return of the test results. Now they're roughly back in 3 days or less. If you're interested in making an appointment, you can go to our website at ocfl.net/econsoccer. We have endeavored to ensure that our residents and our businesses comply with the directives. And so the strikes teams that we have now deployed, they're in their 4th week of deployment. And by the end of today, they will have inspected nearly 1,100 businesses. The business community has been extremely cooperative. Compliance rates have now risen to about 84%. We had to re-inspect several businesses. In fact, about 20 businesses to date have been re-inspected. And when we go back, we find about 75% of them, 3 out of 4, are adhering to the guidance that shared with them initially. Again, if we find businesses non-compliant and we have to go back repeatedly, then we kind of step up our enforcement efforts at that point. As we talk about eviction diversion, that could be a major calamity for our community. To keep people in their homes during this downturn in our economy. So you all know that last week, the Board of County Commission voted to allocate $20 million of our Federal CARES Act funding towards eviction diversion. We will be launching that program in about a week on August the 25th. This program will work only if both the landlord and the tenant agrees contractually to enter into the program. And the goal is to help Orange County families avert eviction. We believe that we will be able to divert between 5,000 and 8,000 individual households from potentially being susceptible to eviction. In order to qualify, we're saying that they need to be at least 2 months behind on rent, and that they receive a notice of potential eviction from a landlord between April of this year and September of this year. Again, our goal is to expend our CARES Act funding by the mandated termination date of December the 30th, 2020. Both must agree through that process, however, for the tenant to be able to pay their rent. We will provide up to $4,000 to assist with that, and if the landlord accepts that and waives, if there's more owed to the landlord must waive that amount in order to move forward, and the landlord has to agree that they would not seek eviction from these individuals through December of this year. So we're working that program in partnership with the Orange County Bar Association and the Community Legal Services of Mid-Florida, and so we appreciate their partnership as we move forward. For more information about that, we'll be putting that up on our webpage later this week, and it'll be under ocfl.net/Orange Cares. As part of the Orange County CARES Act program funds, $36.5 million has been allocated for assistance to social service agencies to expand the funding needs related to the COVID-19 pandemic. These organizations work directly with the county to help residents seeking assistance with homelessness, mental health and substance abuse, access to food pantries, job retention and retraining, and even child care. And one of the social service agencies that we have contracted with is the LGBTQ Center and One Orlando Alliance. They have been helping individuals and families from avoiding homelessness. And they report to us that they have already prevented 2 individuals from becoming homeless, thanks to the CARES Act funding. We've endeavored to assist our small businesses with $10,000 grants, and so far, $44.4 million in grant money has been distributed to Orange County small businesses. For individuals and families, over $24 million has been paid out to help those in need. These are just snapshots of how our CARES Act funds are being used to help our residents, just average residents, every day. And so with that, that's the update from the county services at this point. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Thank you, Mayor Demings. I want to echo Mayor Demings' comments earlier about Aaron. The entire city family and I are deeply saddened by the tragic events of Sunday that took her life. Before she was at the county, she was at the city in our planning division and worked tirelessly to serve our residents. So my prayers and the entire city family's prayers go out to Aaron's family and friends. As the pandemic continues, so does the need to help many of our families and businesses. As a city, we are committed to helping our residents during these challenging times, and I want to remind everybody about our partnership with OUC. Together with OUC, we've put measures and funding in place to specifically provide residents and businesses that are customers of OUC with access to financial assistance for utility payments and to avoid disconnection. Since April, OUC has helped nearly 24,000 customers with payment options and financial assistance, and still has nearly $1.5 million available for those in need. I urge you, if you need that assistance, to contact United Way at 211, or businesses can go online at ouc.com/assistance. In addition to the financial assistance, OUC also offers flexible payment plans that can be worked out on a case-by-case basis. So individuals and businesses needing those arrangements should contact OUC directly. During these uncertain times, our Amway Center has remained closed other than acting as a distribution center for Advent Health, but it hasn't hosted any public events for safety precautions since COVID has impacted our community. So today I'm announcing that our Amway Center will serve as the residency for WWE for the next 2 months. The residency is a first for both WWE and the Amway Center. During the residency, WWE will have live tapings on Mondays and Fridays. The first one starting Friday with Friday Night SmackDown. There will be no public events and no fans permitted in the arena. Additionally, during the residency, we're adding additional safety and cleaning procedures. They include wearing masks, daily temperature screening, hand sanitation, physical distancing, and COVID testing for WE talent and staff. We're extremely grateful to have WWE choose the Amway Center to help keep our Orlando venue staff working during the pandemic. And testing remains critical. We have testing sites that take about 10 minutes to get done. You don't need a reservation. Will be Wednesday, August 19th at Camping World Stadium from 9 to 1. You can make an appointment if you wish by going to orlando.gov. And with that, the man of the hour right now would be our Supervisor of Elections, Bill Cowles.
Primary election. Polls open tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Fortune for Orange County, we're going to be able to open up all 247. And I'm grateful for all the poll workers who have come and gotten trained and ready to go tomorrow at the polling place. We too receive funds from the CARE Act through the Department of State, and we've used that money to make sure that our voters and poll workers will be safe on Election Day. When voters arrive, we haven't seen large lines through the early voting, and I expect it'll be a slow, steady flow at the polling places, but we will have the marked off 6-foot distancing at the outside. Inside, we'll have some markings for spacing. When you walk in, there'll be a plexi shield glass between the voter and the poll worker. We're trying to reduce the number of touches that happen, so voters will be asked to hold up either their driver's license or their sample ballot that has the barcode on it that we can scan that will bring up their record, so there won't be the physical passing of information there. When the voter checks in, they have to sign. They have the option of signing with their finger, a glove, with a glove, or they can use Kleenex to pick up the stylus and sign. They will get a ballot, and with their ballot, they'll get a secrecy folder that is different. This will be a take-home secrecy folder with messages on it about the November election, so they're not touching the folder another voter used. Over in the voting booths, we encourage voters to bring their own pen and pencil, or black or blue pen or pencil, to mark their ballot, and then that way they don't have to touch a pen there. If they do, the workers will provide it to them using Kleenex for them to use, and then we'll clean those pens before we recycle them. Voters will put their ballot into the tabulator, and then they will peel off their "Vote I Did" sticker. So we've invested heavily to make sure that our polling places are safe. This is tomorrow is actually the third part of the voting process. We opened up first with vote by mail. We've heard the messages across the country in preparation for this election during the pandemic, encouraging people to vote. Orange County is at its highest total. Right now, we're at almost 217,000 voters out of our 822,000 voters have requested a vote-by-mail ballot. As of today, we broke the 100,000 ballot mark return, which is an all-time high for voting in a primary. And then we just completed on Sunday evening the 14 days of early voting. And during the early voting period, we had over 38,000 people vote, which is a 10,000 voter increase over what we had in 2016, a presidential year. So interestingly enough, more voters have voted already by mail and early voting than voted in the 2016 primary, and we haven't even opened the polls yet. So people are looking to come out and vote in person, and we're putting the procedures in place to protect them. And Mayor Demings kind of beat me because I also brought about the fact that tomorrow's kind of historic because of the 100th anniversary of the passing of the 19th Amendment, allowing women to vote. And so I had the staff go back and look, and in our early voting that we've now completed with about 38,000 plus voters voting, 20,800 of them were women. And on the vote by mail, now that we're just at 100,000, 55,200 of them were women voting. So they are voting, and voting will open tomorrow at 7 a.m. for the polling places. Thank you. And now Dr. Pino.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. As the mayor mentioned, we have over 33,000 cumulative positive cases in our county. And today, the data for yesterday is probably the lowest that we have seen in probably 6 weeks. If you can go a little bit up to the data. More there. So yesterday we received 1,791 tests. 107 of those were positive, and that's a 5.6% positivity rate. Weekends are always funny. We have talked about it can go either way. Some Mondays are not the best day to figure out the entire week, but nevertheless is the lowest we have seen in a very long time. So with that, we are optimistic that our data continue to perform in the right direction. Also, in the wrong direction is the only lagging data that we have. We have seen 13 additional deaths since we talked to you last, and one is one too many. But if there is any silver lining, is that it appears that the rate of which people are dying is also decreasing. Weeks before, when we were talking to you from a Thursday to a Monday, we were talking about 30, 36, 26 additional deaths. But again, we have to be careful with this data on Mondays. The range of the age is 42 to 93. 4 female, 9 male, 3 black, 3 other, 4 white, 3 of unknown race, 1 Hispanic, 7 non-Hispanics, and 5 of unknown ethnicity. 8 of those deaths happened in long-term assisted living facilities, and 5 deaths were reported before the 13 when we spoke last. 6 were reported on the 13th and 2 in the 14th. Today is the 17th, so we have no reports in the last 72 hours. With regarding to assisted living facility, there is also good news. I drop everything. It's also good news. We have seen a reduction on which the rate of new cases are happening. Again, Orlando Health and Rehabilitation Center, remember this is a center that is assigned to receive COVID cases from other areas, so always is going to be probably at the top of our list. We have there so far a total of 240 cases. Recently, 20 new residents and 5 new positive staff. At Orlando, there are no changes in cases. Terra Vista Health Center, only 1 positive staff since we talked to you on the 13th. Ocoee Care Center, Healthcare Center, no changes. Colonial Lakes Healthcare, only 4 new positive staff and 1 resident. With regard to the other parts of our data, it continued really to decrease. And last week, we saw a decrease of 29% with respect to the prior week with regard to the total number of cases. In week 32, we have 1,637, and in week 33, we just finished, we have 1,166. Also, today is the lowest average rolling 14 days positivity rate. That's the one that we follow closely, and this data does not include the tests that were performed in the bubble at Disney. So this is today 9.98. The highest we have was around 3 weeks back. With regard to hospitalization, we also see a decrease in the number of ER visits and a decrease in the number of admissions. We also have seen a decrease in the number of people hospitalized in ICU beds, which is a great indicator for the predictability of death. Right now, as of yesterday, 54 people were hospitalized in ICU beds with COVID-19. The highest that I have a month ago on July 18th was 104 in ICU beds. With that, Mayor.
I guess, as Dr. Pino indicated, the cumulative rate is now just below double digits for Orange County, and so we're trying to ensure that we reduce that number even further. So with that, we're going to open it up for any questions. If we have any Spanish-speaking media here, if you have any questions in Spanish, then we'll endeavor to answer them in Spanish. We have Commissioner Gomez-Cordero, who can assist with that. We also have Ms. Ilia Torres, who will be assisting with that as well. Dr. Pino. You know, I started to say, Lauren, I know your question is going to be for Dr. Pino, but I said, I'm going to try today.
There's something happening here.
Yeah.
I'll bring a question for you.
No.
You have to be careful what you ask for.
Dr. Pino, I know that a lot of people are excited to see these numbers going down, and you've said in the past when the numbers do go down, you're cautiously optimistic. How long do you think we will see them to continue to go down before we might start seeing some increases from schools, or do you think we will see increases from schools going back?
Well, I just suspect that we are going to see increases after school starts. because that has been the experience in other markets, in other places around the country. So I don't see a reason why it should be any much different here. Now, the Board of Education have taken painstaking steps to try to avoid that from happening. But it's safe to assume that we will see at least a slight increase in the number of cases as the activity increase in the schools. Now, the schools are a projection of the community. They are part of the community. It should not go wild because our rates are quite low at this point. But, and we are happy that we got to this point before the school starts. But also the fact that we are in such a good place today is one more reason for people not to take the foot off the pedal, because we need to continue to drive this down. And we can do it. We have proven that we can do it even better than this. Thanks.
This next question is for you, Mayor. Dyer comes from John Alba with News 13. Can you please ask Mayor Dyer if WWE's agreement with Amway Center in the city of Orlando will eventually allow for fans to be present in the arena? How long will WWE be allowed to extend its lease until?
So they're there for 60 days, 2 months, and right now the plan is to have no fans, but to have live taping on Monday and Friday, and then there's going to be some pay-per-view events on Sunday.
Danielle Lama with Fox 35. My question is for Supervisor Cowles. Can you just talk a little bit about how you think it may be getting you ready for the election in November, where those numbers are going to be even higher? Have you had any issues this time around, or does everything seem to be running smoothly?
We think we're on track. We know that after the election tomorrow, all focus will be on the November 3rd. So we expect the number of requests for vote by mail to continue to grow. On the other hand, we anticipated that, and even in building our budget for the election, we looked at having enough materials to do 80% of the voters if it got that high. So we feel good about that. And the other thing that was encouraging during this past early voting, this was the first time we had drop boxes at the early voting site so that voters could return them there instead of using the postal service. And we had over 10,000 voters, and that number climbed each day, to return their ballots that way. So with the drop boxes there's an opportunity as people get closer, voters get closer to the elections, to be able to drop it off and not put their ballot in the mail.
This next question was texted in from Matthew Petty with WFFE. This is for you, Mayor Demings. Mayor Demings, I wanted to ask you about the masks at the 33rd Street Jail. Desmond Meade of the Florida Rights Restoration Committee says his organization offered 14,000 free masks to the jail at the start of the pandemic and was turned down. Can the mayor say why that offer was turned down?
I do recall the offer to provide masks to the jail. At that time, we had already began to provide masks to our staff at the jail, and I want to put it into perspective here that we did not see the first positive case of an individual in our jail until June the 4th, and that was a person transferred in from the Florida Department of Corrections. He already knew that he had the virus when he was transferred in. We didn't see the first positive one of our inmates within the Orange County Jail until the 3rd week in June, clearly well after the offer for the masks to be donated to our jail. What we wanted to do was that since we were already preparing adequately for our needs here within Orange County, it was already understood that with the Florida Department of Corrections, they had seen outbreaks within the state prison system. So we thought that it really was more appropriate, more needed for those masks to be provided to the Florida Department of Corrections. And it is my understanding that the Florida Restoration of Rights Coalition indeed did provide masks to the Florida Department of Corrections. And so that's what I would tell you is that we were operating within our ability at that time.
This last question is texted from Ryan Lynch with Orlando Business Journal for you, Mayor Demings. Related to the business compliance visits, what would be the next steps for businesses still not in compliance with safety rules? What does that look like?
It can look like referrals to the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulations. If they hold a particular license under the DBPR, that license can be potentially suspended. That can include establishments that have liquor licenses or alcohol and beverage licenses. It could include referrals to even the Florida Department of Agriculture, who regulates amusement type rides, et cetera, if it's a theme park or amusement park. Again, there could be other sanctions, or it could mean referral to other appropriate authorities. And so we're going to use every bit of our authority to address the violations that we see. There are no other questions? Wow. We did extraordinarily well today then. Thank you to Supervisor Cowles. Thank you to Mayor Dyer. Supervisor, we hope you have an extraordinary day. Tomorrow the polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. So vote, vote, vote. Thank you all very much.